Hello everyone to our Dataquest viewers, and it's time for again the CIO dialogues. Today we have with us Atanu Pramanic, COO and VP IT at RPSG Ventures, which is an RP-Sanjiv Goenka company. Welcome, Atanu.
Hi, Sunil. Thank you.
So I'll just get straight to it. If you see the role of the CIO has been changing in the last couple of decades, and there were further changes that took place during pandemic. So how much has the CIO's role changed, and what can we expect changes in the years to come?
Right. So, Sunil, I think the world has been deliberating this question for last, I would say, few years, if not a decade, right? And conventionally, we know that CIO's role was set up as a support function. CIO is supposed to kind of provide probably laptops, desktops, connectivity. And then gradually some applications came into the fold, and then ERP came into the fold. And of late, maybe 5 years back, 5 to 7 years back, when the digitization and then the digitalization concepts started cropping in, probably business started looking IT from a different angle. And also the quote unquote value addition of the IT function within an organization started changing from a support function to an enabling function to probably business partner. Is that what IT teams are aspiring to be in an organization if they're already not there? Right? So basically, a digital business cannot be achieved with either IT driving it or some partners driving it without the active participation of the business and the users, right? So digital business or digitalization is a kind of a concept where people, process, technology has to take part together. And that's where actual value comes from, right? And I think that's what businesses are looking at more and more. The IT functions are kind of optimizing, kind of reskilling themselves to provide this value to the business.
So it's very interesting, like you talked the evolution of the CIO, and you're talking so much about, digitization, digitalization. Now, few years back, we had another term called CDO, Chief Data Officer or Chief Digital Officer. And there were some who said that that would, supersede the CIO. But I think that is not happening. So has now the CIO is also the CDO? Because as it is from the outside, you have CTO, so much confusion. So now is the CIO will be the CDO. How is it?
Sunil, it is a bit sensitive. My friends
Yeah, true.
across the organizations are either CIO or CDO or CTO,
Correct.
whatever kind of name you give it to them. But I believe in within myself that it's ultimately one function, right? If I talk of, let's say, when we passed out from college, it was, let's say, take one department, mechanical engineering. Now, if you go to the same university, within mechanical engineering, they have given so many specializations and they have become departments like power engineering, like printing engineering, like so many within the same mechanical, which was a curriculum of mechanical in let's say 2 to 3 decades back. Now, due to specialization, they have been renamed as individual departments. So similar to that, where an organization is highly technology oriented, a technology company, they might give this name CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Where it is kind of orthodox company where they were head of IT, CIO, and they are kind of transforming to the new age, they would probably give it a name of CIO still. A digital native company will not mind giving it a direct name of CDO, right? And somewhere in between comes CIDO. But if you look at the skills and the evolution of the skills of this people of the human resources, it is not very different, right? Ultimately, they deal with the same kind of stuff all across, whether you call them a CIO or CIDO or CDO or CTO, right? I think it's a company's choice. There are companies who have parallel CIO and CDO. There are companies where CIO does the role of a CDO. There are companies who have a CDO having CIO reporting to them, and obviously CIDO, right? Uh, it's just a jargon that is being used by a specific company, nothing to do with the actual work that needs to be done, which remains the same in my mind.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for clarifying that. It's quite interesting how those roles have evolved. Now, moving on, the pandemic saw a sea change. There was tech acceleration, technological acceleration. The industry upgraded itself. So would you say now, from the tech point of view, from the business point of view, are we ready for maybe a future disruption in the 10 years? What is our state of BCP? How is the CIO more ready for this?
See, again, I'll be very candid here.
Okay.
We know what we know. And if we talk about future, it is always futuristic. It is always, to an extent, I would say, a percentage of estimate, guesstimate, whatever you call it, is involved there. But looking at the trend that I would say the industrial come manufacturing organizations were the last to kind of jump onto the digitalization bandwagon, where the technologies kind of started coming in, with the financial, banking, healthcare, insurance companies being the first in that, which probably went into much ahead around 15 to 20 years back even, right? Our banking apps were available by around 2005, right? Some 17, 18, 20 years back. So from that perspective, I think if you call it disruption, it's going to be there. The industries are at I would say, an inflection point where they would have done all kinds of cost optimization. They would have done all kind of process optimization. They would have done all kinds of skill optimization by now. So the last lever left with any organization now is to do a technology ingestion, acceleration, or simply you call it digitalization, right? I think that's what is going to happen. Technologies will evolve. Simply taking an example, if you look at 7, 8 years back, when most of the manufacturing companies in India started digitalization, some of the key technologies were not really available in India. We needed to look into partners coming from outside the Western countries. Today, I would say, thankful to the demand that we have in Indian business world, every single technology is not only available in India, there are skilled partners who can support you in implementation. And this is going to kind of get to a faster track, given the government's push, given the business's own internal push, and given in which direction the world is moving.
Yeah. So, and another thing you have to talk about that is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT has come and transformed. Initially, it was a curiosity. It was in academia and students, but slowly, I am sure it's going to spread to business. So how are businesses looking at ChatGPT, and how is the CIO looking at ChatGPT?
It's a very, very pertinent question, Sunil. I will talk about a few things the jargons which came in again 10, 15, 18 years back. At one point in time, early 2000, was a jargon called SOA. Okay. Then there was, at similar time, there was another jargon called BPM. Okay, business process management. For a few years, they kind of were pretty much as a very high level of interest within the industry. Then obviously the cloud adoption came in. 2, 3 years back, since then we are talking of few jargons coming closer is Web 3.0, Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0, and now Metaverse, right? Not all of these jargons took the driver's seat. Not all of them were as kind of successful as the other, right? A few things like IoT is probably anyone can have it. It's kind of a commodity today. Blockchain 5 years back was so highly priced. Today it has come down. It's kind of within the range of any organization who can implement it. Drone, again, something which is kind of available for everyone almost to use it. But it took time for us to kind of understand those technologies, understand the use cases, and to deploy them at the proper time and with the proper cost, right? So similar with Metaverse, similar with Web 3.0, and obviously ChatGPT that you mentioned, I think we need some more time. ChatGPT is definitely a disruptive technology that has come in a very simple language. If you do Google, you will have 20 responses, out of which you need to kind of go through and take one of the best responses. ChatGPT gives you only one response, probably which is the best response, right? Now, how much is that going to disrupt? How much is that going to be commercially viable? Today, what we are testing out in ChatGPT is, okay, ChatGPT, give me a sick leave mail. I'm just giving you a very very bad example, and it gives you a nice 2 paragraphs sick leave mail, right? Now, how that gets into very complicated technology solutioning, very complicated science questions, very complicated futuristic questions. Um, Only time will say. Honestly, I have not checked out ChatGPT as much personally, other than a few kind of at random checks. But how much will it be relevant to the industry at a commercially viable point? Only time will tell. But this is definitely going to disrupt a lot of other businesses, a lot of other OEMs as well. I'm not naming them, very relevant, but some of them might go out of business.
Oh, that's a big thing. So anyway, so you have mentioned many emerging tech. Is there any one particular emerging tech which do you think is really hot right now and will go a long way ahead?
That's what I think. All these three, the last three that I mentioned, Web 3.0, Metaverse,
Metaverse and
and ChatGPT.
right.
I think these three are talk of the town today. Honestly speaking, some of the organizations are just implementing them for the sake of implementing without a proper use case. Uh, so, where is the actual utilization of these high-tech solutions? Will have to be thought through, and will have to be seen how commercially viable it becomes in the short run, maybe 2 years, 3 years. But these are going to be really disruptive technologies, really disruptive.
Yeah. Then on a slightly different note, what would be your advice to be say someone who has just taken over as a CIO and using your experience? What are the basics, certain tips and tricks you'd give to the new CIO?
Sunil, number one, there is no shortcut. Okay.
Mm.
Um, the first and primary thing, if you are a business CIO, is to understand your business. In today's world, as I mentioned, every technology is available, even in Indian market. There are enough players, enough partners, enough skilled resources who can support you with technology. But unless you understand your own business well enough and identify the proper use cases for a particular solution to be implemented, you are not going to succeed. And in most of the cases where there are failures of technology implementation, 9 out of 10 cases are lack of user adoption, lack of user awareness, lack of user acceptability or adoption, right? And why that happens? Either by the choice of a wrong technology solution for a wrong use case, or at times also visionary decisions fail. You know, when a visionary decision becomes acceptable, that person becomes a genius. He is a real leader, real futuristic visionary. But 9 out of 10 of those visionary decisions fails because of lack of user adoption, lack of proper use case identification, and obviously lack of understanding your business to the core. So I think these are the few things that a new CIO should kind of spend time on. Technology as a CIO, as an industry, is abundantly available today. And being in IT function, we are married to learning. So there is no stoppage in learning. You have to continue to learning every single day.
So that's quite interesting advice. Finally, I'd like, talk a bit about, everybody's saying it's going to be India's tech decade or techade. Everyone says, if you look at the Economist, he says like we will be the largest economy by 2040, will be the third largest here. And even the government has become a very vibrant digital democracy. Things like UPI, CoWIN. So from the industry point of view, are we ready for the decade? What are the pluses and minuses that India has going into this decade?
I think we're in the right slot. India is in the right slot for a economy boom, for a technology boom, and for the first time in the history, probably the numbers that India have is favoring India.
Right.
Because the consumerism, you call it anything, FMCG goods or technology, the high numbers are really helping the boost, right? Whether you call the government's drive of Atmanirbhar Bharat or any other stuff, media, your technology ingestion, the sheer size of Indian, I would say numbers, I'm not saying Indian economy yet, but just the mathematical or arithmetical numbers are helping India. Yeah. So from that perspective, to make a solution commercially viable, if you have 20 users vis-a-vis 2,000 users, will obviously make that much of a difference, right? And India has got those numbers. So I think that's one of the reasons in my mind. And obviously, I would say the eagerness in the newer generation, the newer leadership to use technologies is what is going to push India to the next level.
Yeah. So that's a very positive note. I think that's a good place to end on the positive note. I'd like to thank you for giving those views in such clear detail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunil. Take care. Have a nice day.